Friends, and welcome back to Alien Protocols. This is the first time you are going to hear the reality of humanity's past. And I'm going to show to you uh, why I believe this is so, and I think you'll agree. There are some things that you can't argue with, and that's some facts. And we have been able to conclusively tell a couple things about our Earth's history. And just two factors alone, but also three or four that you can add, are very well known. Things like Earth's temperature over the past few million years, Earth's polarity and pole shifts, and how that related to the Earth's temperature and glaciation. Uh, there's a lot of very specific things we can look at and determine things in the past and see how the future could transpire. And it all kind of fits into this planetary evolution model. As the planets cool and settle in, and the heaviest elements go, sink to the center of these larger planets and solar systems, they will, start to convect. The metals will create this convection, which creates, of course, an electromagnetic field. And that can help protect an atmosphere and protect oceans of water and different types of liquids. And it's a life cycle where these planets, as they cool, their magnetic fields weaken, and then they flip uh, back and forth, faster and faster, and then at some point they stop flipping. The last flip was the last flip, and the planet loses its atmosphere and the oceans, like what happened to Mars. Mars had a magnetosphere and oceans of water until it lost its magnetosphere. And that's this planetary evolution. And our planet has been going through that process, and we're next. Now, of course, different planets can have different uh, times for their magnetosphere to shut off. I think Earth, because we have the moon, such a large moon, and the impact kind of kept us a little warmer, and the convection maybe a little longer or later, perhaps. But there's no doubt we know a few different things. We know humanity has been around, humans, let's just say for a minimum of 300,000 years. Although I believe it's our species specifically started about 400,000 years ago as uh, a byproduct of other species interbreeding. And the thing that was interesting about us is, of course, we were maybe a little bit smarter, but we were also more, we were very team, social, group oriented. And of course, humans are that way in general, and all the different types of human, subspecies. But you can see that species die during these glaciation periods. There's the hot periods and the cold periods. Look how many mega disasters have changed the temperature on the planet dramatically. There's been far more glaciation periods, meaning times when the planet was more covered with ice than these warm periods. You can imagine humanity 200,000 years ago pooling together in little cities. Now it took the same exact species of human, nothing different about us. Um, in our period of time, it took us about 12,000 years to go from, rebuilding civilization to, space travel, let's say. 12, 15,000 years. 12.5, let's say. Now, when you look back at time and how long humans have been here, we have had an unusually really warm period for a while. Before the Younger Dryas as well, there was a really long period of warmness. So I think there was definitely humanity and a civilization there just before that last glaciation. But also, if you look back 150,000 years ago around, there's this time period that must have been the golden era of humanity. When humans must have had, if you look at the image here in the temperature, it's a surprisingly long period of time. It's almost, I would say, let's say it's at least 25,000 years of warm weather. See how it's above the glaciation line? And the last time, we've had it that way for about, you can safely say 12,000 years, 15,000 years. Okay. Um, 12.5 thousand years. And every, of these red events or the blue events represent a different mega disaster happening. Either pole flip, losing our magnetosphere, gamma ray bursts, volcanoes, meteor strikes. There have been so many mega disasters during humanity's period, but we had this golden era from about 110,000 years ago to about, it looks like 100 and, let's say, 40,000 years ago. So 30,000 years. It took humanity 12,000 years to go from rebuilding everything. I think there was an era then that was so extraordinary we can't imagine. I bet there are giant cities. I bet that's where elongated skulls might even come from. That period there must have been extraordinary, where Homo sapiens pooled together in cities to defend themselves against Neanderthals and saber-toothed, tigers and giant creatures that the megafauna that no longer exists. The periods of time when the temperature dropped, that's when there's the most extinctions. And you can imagine why. You know, uh, Once the temperature drops, it's usually because there's no sun and the plants die, and that has a catastrophic chain reaction in the biosphere and massive extinctions. And new species seem to kind of evolve in the really tough periods. It's interesting, in the colder periods, the new species emerge, and many kind of perish either during healthy periods or just as the healthy period crashes because someone outcompetes them. So humanity pooled together in these extraordinary cities and had so many years, at least 30,000 years of incredibly great weather. Better even than now, warmer. So they could have occupied more of the planet, more possibilities. It was much warmer, about 10 degrees warmer back then. Wow, the civilizations we must have had. But the glaciations and water rising and lowering have smashed everything. Most, humans stay near water. And if you look at the whole planet, you know, they don't stay in the middle of Australia, they stay on the coasts. And the same thing in the US. We like to be on the water, um, although humans live everywhere, of course. So it's certainly conceivable there could have been very, very, very extraordinary civilizations in our past. Another time where it was incredibly warm was around 250,000 years ago. There have been a lot of these long periods, and we've been around, gang. I think we're real survivors. But I think what's really important to realize is look how steep these lines are. And in terms of pole shifts, you can see in the past and correlate them to the planet temperatures. So as the planet loses its magnetic strength, the temperature rises, and then as the strength becomes stronger again on the other side, after it goes to zero for a while, and that's for a very short period of time, fortunately, but long in terms of humans. It's 300 to 500 years it can be at zero before it regains strength again and the planet cools down, actually. So that's our real history, gang. If you use your noggin, you'll come to the same conclusion. I think it's the only logical conclusion. I don't know. What do you guys think? Much love.